Welcome aboard the 4 to 7 pod on the Ascension Podcast Network with Chris and Jerry, not Gerard, and I am not Topher. We're not doing that.
No.
You will call us you will call us by our given names.
Another name, that's for the government and my parents. And y'all ain't either of them.
Yep. You are not God, my father, or my boss. Well, I guess I guess Case is our boss, but you're not
technically.
You're not God or our father.
Yeah.
But we are back, and what a week it's been. What a week it's been in baseball land, and particularly Mets land. We are about a week removed from Steve Cohen tweeting, "Let me know when you see the smoke," which obviously sent all Mets fans everywhere into quite the frenzy. And at that point, it felt like very much felt like the Kyle Tucker news was coming soon, and then within a couple of hours, the Kyle Tucker news came, and it was not the news any of us wanted to hear, that he was going to the Dodgers for a crazy amount of money. Was it $60 million a year?
Per year.
Yeah, $60 million a year, which
With not a lot of deferrals, as it turns out.
I saw somewhere that he's making like $1 million next year, and that the rest is like deferred.
All right, yeah, you know what? That might have been initially wrong. Hang on, well, I'll let you go ahead. Let me confirm that.
But either way, the AAV $60 million. And from that point, at that point, I think the fan base got pretty angry at the owner and pretty angry at Stearns as well, just for the lack of action. And I don't know, Cohen always comes out and kind of tweets something kind of at like the wrong time, or he'll tweet something and then like it immediately just backfires and makes him look stupid, and makes it look like that he's just fucking with the fans, or that he doesn't care, or like whatever.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was not a big fan of that about this time last week. It's like, all right, buddy, put the phone down and start doing shit.
But I mean, to his credit, the smoke did rise shortly after. The next day,
when he said look for the smoke, he was doing this.
Yeah.
It just took him a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, I saw one tweet being like, "Oh, he probably thought he was he probably thought that was a text. Like, wait till he finds out that's a tweet and not a text."
I said that. That'll be.
and then of course he I think it kind of made it worse that he like made another tweet to like explain what he was talking about, and was just like, "Oh, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I was talking about like I was referencing the Pope, but we're waiting
to explain it."
Yeah, he's like, but last I heard, we're waiting on a decision. And it did seem like the Mets were close in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes, but yeah, the Dodgers with their satanic rituals once again, they get the girl there.
It just seems like it was the Yamamoto deal all over again. Like, we gave him an offer and he went back to the Dodgers and said, match this, and they did.
Yeah. And the Yankees were
and I'm one of them. I was being overly emotional last week, but like, what are you supposed to do when you have a comparable offer and the other guy just was dead set on this the whole time? Like, what are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah. I mean, same thing happened with Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
They might have offered, I think the Dodgers offered $1 million more AAV than what the Mets were offering. It was like $3 million, $3 more million. So, at that point, I think if he wanted to stay in New York, he would have. Does MLB have do the players in MLB have a running from the ground? I'm sorry.
It's a $64 million signing bonus for Tucker. So it's $1 million this year, and then $55 assuming we play baseball in 27, and then two $60 million player options for 28 and 29.
I see. So
30 million of it will
basically
be deferred.
So he already got the
27 and 29.
Okay, so he already got the 64 million then from signing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that part confused me. But because I think I saw that it was like $1 million was going to be like his base salary for 2026. But
That's what it looks like according to Sport Track.
yeah, but yeah, about a week ago, it was like, pretty much pack it up, baseball. We'll see you. We'll see you in 2028 maybe. But I will give the Mets credit; they did rebound nicely. Before we get to the moves that they did make, I do want to ask. So, do we have a bit of a amongst the players in MLB? I feel like we have a little bit of a running from the grind problem.
I think it's fair to ask.
Players, players seem like nobody really wants to step up and get together to try and beat the Dodgers. Everyone just kind of wants to join the Dodgers and make them even more unstoppable.
I will say it was one of the reasons that I wanted to get Tatsuyama Ime, because he was on record saying, I want to bring them down. I'm like, give me that guy.
Yeah.
He's already calling it out. He hasn't even stepped foot here yet, and he's already talking about it. Like, yeah, that's a guy I want to go to war with. Or maybe that's not the best thing to be saying right now, but you know what I mean.
No. Yeah, no, need more people.
Historically, not a good thing either, but
yeah. Yeah, definitely need more people like that. But of course, he went to Toronto. So c'est la vie with that. Or wait, did he go to Toronto?
He went to Houston.
That's right. He went to Houston. I'm thinking about
Akamoto.
Yeah, Akamoto went to Toronto. That's right. But yeah, either way, I mean, it sucks that now, like now that the Dodgers are such villains, like, people are kind of looking at the Astros as like, I don't know, not like underdogs, but I feel like, people have like a more favorable, like the general baseball public has like a more favorable view of the Astros now.
Hey, you know what? You know that trash can stuff? How'd you do it? No, for real, we need help.
Yeah. Yeah, or those Apple Watches.
You didn't get this message.
Yeah, between that and the Apple Watches,
yeah.
I think a lot of teams were doing Apple Watch stuff, and I'm sure other teams had some sort of cheating or some sort of systems that they had going on, but the Astros definitely were the ones to get caught and take
it kept the Dodgers from winning a World Series earlier, so like,
yeah, they weren't
really that bad.
Maybe they weren't wrong. Maybe they were just early.
Just maybe different applications of the method, so to speak.
Yeah. But yeah, but for the last for the past week or so, Stearns and the Mets have been wheeling and dealing. Starting with the Bo Bichette, signing. They signed him to a 3-year, what was it, $142 million deal.
Mm-hmm. Or I think it might be 124 because it's going to be 40 million a year.
That's right.
Or 42 million a year. That's what it is.
Yeah. It looks like it's a 126 million. Appears to be the exact number, but yeah, they signed Bo Bichette to a 3-year, $126 million deal. A little confusing at first because it was just kind of like, oh well, another second baseman, but kind of need people that are going to play other positions. But
I will say though, the one thing that I've kind of gone back and forth on over the past week, and you saw my short that we put on the YouTube channel, and it's that, well, he's never played third base in the major leagues. I'm not even sure if he did in the minors, but I've seen, I defer to people who know about this stuff, and I've seen a lot of ex-players who say, hey, look, if you've got the instincts to be a starting shortstop in the major leagues, which Bichette has been since 2020, you probably have the instincts to play third base. And,
yeah,
in light of the injuries and stuff, it's like you don't need as much athleticism at third base as you do at short. And that's where the instincts come in because the balls get to you so much quicker. And it wasn't as if, he wasn't a Gold Glove shortstop, but he wasn't a bad one either. So if he played shortstop well enough for a team that went to the World Series, he could probably adequately play third base. And it'll probably be something of a downgrade from how well Brett Beatty played it last year, but it's also probably going to be an upgrade from most of the time that Vientos was playing it. So there's that. I do think there's going to be a rotation at the corners and the DH between those two and Vientos and Simeon. And I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, who needs a day off? Who's slumping? Who needs to just hit today? I don't think anybody's going to necessarily out of that be locked into a position, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, they say the plan for Bichette is for him to play third, but does that mean he is the? Does that mean that he's the everyday third baseman? Is what's that's what's kind of that's what kind of remains to be seen. And I mean, they do have the they do have enough pieces and they do have enough depth that they can. They can kind of maneuver around, and obviously when they first traded Nemo for Simeon, it definitely seemed like a head scratcher at the time, but now that they've kind of brought it more together, it seems like it's like making a little bit more sense. And, the run prevention definitely seems like they weren't lying about addressing that, which I think they backed up to when you trade for a player like Luis Robert. So let's get into that next. So then things picked up again. Things picked up again this week when they traded for Luis Robert. I believe it was Tuesday night when they traded for Robert. And they gave up. L.A. Acuna and Truman Pauly,
who was a 12th round pick this past year. He was listed as being on the roster in St. Lucie, which is now low A ball. So that just. To which I say this: if they're able to get something out of Truman Pauly from this, then hats off to their player development.
Good for them.
You did your job.
Absolutely,
that's a risk worth taking.
Yeah, I'd say you probably went in above and beyond doing your job if you're able to get something out of them. As far as L.A. Acuna goes, I do. I was a little surprised that they moved from him, but given how crowded their infield was. He already really wasn't getting a lot of playing time. So, the sample size was pretty small with him. It seemed like he was very hot and cold. Obviously he has a lot of tools and there's a lot to like about L.A. Acuna, but you hadn't really seen him fully put it together. And I do think the potential is there for him to put it together. I think if I'm the White Sox and I'm betting on anyone in that trade, obviously you're betting on L.A. Acuna, but
I mean the tools are there in terms of the speed and the defense, but if you're going to hit that, you've got to be able to hit a little bit. We're not asking to hit 320. You got to hit 260.
Yeah, there was really no power to speak of either. So. And that's just not really. As
people have rightly pointed out, salute to him for filling in for Lindor for that 1 week in 2024 when Lindor was out with the back injury, because without that, maybe the Mets don't, steal another win or two there, and 2024 never happens the way we remember it. So salute to him. I appreciate that. But again, you look at that depth chart, he's not replacing Lindor. He's not replacing Simeon. He's not replacing Bichette.
And he's not playing first.
You're probably not putting him at first base, and you're not putting him above Jorge Polanco. He's not ahead of Brett Beatty.
You're not putting him.
I'm not sure he's ahead of Vientos either. So it's like, for someone who's that young and has displayed something at the major league level, if nothing else, that guy deserves playing time, and he's at least going to get that now with the White Sox.
Yeah, I think. I mean. without looking at the White Sox, without looking at like the White Sox lineup or potential lineup, I have to think that he would maybe be an everyday starter, or at least he have the chance to be like a platoon player there. Like definitely more so than definitely more so than what playing time he was getting in New York. I mean, I don't see, looking at looking at like the White Sox infield, like I don't see any reason why he couldn't play over like most of these guys.
Yeah, like Chase Meidroth, like I know like was a regular starter for them last year, but like there's no reason he can't beat him out. Colson Montgomery is probably their entrenched starter because he was a high draft pick for them and he's been a long time prospect for them. So yeah, probably not beat, but like he could beat out Josh Rojas at second.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he could beat out Josh Rojas. I did see
Vargas.
Yeah, I did see something about him potentially playing center field and just kind of replacing Robert in center field.
He could.
He definitely has the speed to play that position. So yeah, I think that for a team like Chicago that's rebuilding, and I think that Chicago might not be as far away as people think. I'm not saying it's going to be like this year or anything, but I think within the next couple of years, like the White Sox are maybe going to make some noise, especially in that division. That there's never really a team that's that dominant, and especially after Skubal inevitably leaves the Tigers. Then after that, I think that division is kind of going to be like anyone's division for the taking, and I think the White Sox have enough young pieces that maybe by then it's kind of coming together for them.
Well, they do have Kyle Teal, which was like that was the big piece from the Crochet trade. Yeah. They signed Murakami. Chase Meidroth actually did kind of well last year for them at second base, so that's something to build on. But again, Acuna could win that job. They got Miguel Vargas. I want to say they got him from Michael Kopech. They're hoping Colson Montgomery becomes that guy. And then they've got a bunch of dudes that they can rotate at DH between Vargas, Teal, Murakami, Edgar Cuero, and Benintendi. So yeah, I think there's a decent chance they lose less than 100 games this upcoming season. They're not going to win the division, but I also don't think they're historically all-time bad anymore either.
Yeah, no, I think the White Sox are going to be they won what? They won 41 games in 2024 when they broke the record. And then how many games did they win last year? They were in the 60s or 59 wins.
They lost 102, so I think they won 60. I don't know if they played all their games.
Yeah, I think they'll be like a frisky 73 to 75 win team.
Yeah, like that. And I will say I didn't know this about Luis Robert. The more I learn about him, he was listed as having 7 outs above average last year. And granted, I know defensive metrics aren't perfect, but it is something to work with. And he was listed in the 93rd percentile of defense for center fielders. We consider Tyrone Taylor to be an excellent defensive center fielder, and I don't know how most Met fans feel, but I'm glad we have him. He was listed as having 4 outs above average and was in the 84th percentile. So you consider that you have a strong defensive center fielder anyway. And the Mets, if nothing else, whether Luis Robert comes here and has the kind of season he did in 2023, where he had 38 homers and 22 steals. We've seen what his back can do. But even if he's not that, at the very least, you are already upgrading from strength in center field defensively. We talked about the run prevention, and it's, well, how do you get better at that? Well, you're potentially adding one of the best defensive center fielders in the game, and you're upgrading that position, which was already good as it was. You have to think that's also going to help Juan Soto in right field. And we know defense isn't his strength. That's not why you signed him.
No, it's
but
not.
If you've got cover for him in center field, boy, does that help. And
Yeah.
I also shout out to Sarah Langs for this one. And I'm not saying he's going to do exactly these things in 26, but this is why I look at this only as a low risk, high reward play. Players in 2025 who were in the 90th percentile or better in both sprint speed and bat speed: Julio Rodriguez, O'Neal Cruz, Luis Robert Jr. I'll take that shot.
Yeah, no, you definitely take that shot. And I mean, if you were going into the season with Tyrone Taylor or like Carson Benj as your as your everyday center fielder, like sure you feel good about the defense, particularly with Tyrone Taylor, but Luis Robert, as you allude to, is even better. And while Luis Robert, from a hitting standpoint, he never really hit again quite the way he did after he had that 2023 season where he hit like 38 home runs, but he ever since then he's kind of never shown the same he's kind of never shown that same pop, and he's kind of turned into like he's basically been like a career 220 hitter since then. He is giving you more than Tyrone Taylor though. And center field is a position where you gotta be able to hit a little bit at least.
I do think like having Tyrone Taylor as your fourth outfielder, like guy that gets maybe 2 starts a week, at minimum is your late game defensive replacement if you need to do it. Cool. That was ultimately his ideal thing, and that's kind of what he was in 2024, where it's like, okay, if Bader's hurt, well, we can just stick him there. We're good. But at minimum, that's a guy we can bring in late in the game to steal a base or patrol the outfield. I have seen this theory passed around, and I'm kind of willing to buy it. Like we've seen on better White Sox teams, which Luis Robert was a part of when he first got here. We saw what he looked like when he's inspired. I do think there's something to. He was on the White Sox teams that were good, and then it got so bad so quickly.
Right. Yeah.
I just wonder if it took something out of him where it's like, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, we're not going to be good. And, and I'm not accusing him of like not trying, but like subconsciously, it's one of those things
like
where I know I'm talented.
And like he also got hurt. Like he's been hurt like almost every
and that's
year.
A legitimate concern.
Yeah. Yeah. So if nothing else, it does give you at least on paper going into the season, it gives you a better option at center field. And, I also think as far as the offense goes with Robert, like this will be probably the best lineup he's ever been in. This will be the most protection he ever has. So,
for sure,
maybe batting like fifth or sixth rather than being like the third or the cleanup hitter. I'm sure that'll probably take a lot of pressure off him too. So I think that it could, I think that there's potential that being in this lineup and being also, being in like the market of New York. I mean, Chicago is a big market too, obviously, but the White Sox are basically like, second class citizens to the Cubs. It's not quite like, it's like, I feel like the gap between the Cubs and the White Sox in Chicago, as far as like who cares about the teams, because like, whatever the case is with the Yankees and the Mets, like they have close to an equal amount of fans, or maybe not an equal amount of fans, but like there's definitely like the Mets are probably the second, or like the Mets are probably like the third most popular team in the city.
I would agree with that in the sense of, and I know this from having been there in 2015, and I know I hear it from people who live there when it happens, and it's always that, yeah, when the Yankees are winning, it's different, and you know what that looks like. But also, when the Mets are making an October run, you feel it. It's not like, when the Brooklyn Nets are in the play, like nobody cares. But when the Mets are absolutely in it, like they were in 15, like they were in 24, or at the turn of the century when they were right there with the Yankees, it's their presence is known, and I'm sure like
Or I would say even like in the regular season when like even though obviously this past season ended terribly, like I feel like all summer long, like with both teams being relevant and in contention till the end, like obviously baseball was like the talk of the town and kind of like kind of dominated the sports world. So even if the Mets aren't necessarily World Series contenders, they have enough pull in the city. But I feel like in comparison, the White Sox are like
when the
way
Cubs won the
behind.
World Series, they were like, "Here's all the Chicago championships," and like ESPN didn't even include the White Sox World Series in the graphic.
Yeah,
which like I kind of felt for him. I'm like, I think you're right about people do the big brother little brother gimmick, but like all that shit aside, it's like no, there is a presence, and I could kind of sympathize with White Sox fans being like, so why does it fuck us? I could certainly understand why they'd have a right to feel disrespected, but
yeah,
to your larger point, like I think knowing that there's going to be eyes on you and that there are people that are going to be like, all right, hey, we hear you're pretty good. All right, show us what you're about. And I think you did have a good point right at the top. And I haven't seen as much chatter about this, and I kind of think there should be more. Obviously, the top three in the lineup is penciled. It's going to be Lindor, Soto, and Bichette. That's
right.
easy to pencil in. But how does the rest of that lineup shake out? Because I've got some ideas. I've seen some other ideas about it, but I don't know if 4 through 9. I mean, like I've even heard some people say, you could put Robert 8th and be fine, and it would probably be good for him because, like you said, he's not expected to carry the lineup here the way he was with the White Sox, and maybe that will add a dimension to his game too, where he can just go up and be him. He doesn't have to go up there going, man, if I don't get something, we're not getting anything because I can't count on anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, these are facts. I mean, as far as as far as the lineup goes, yeah, I mean, I feel like now with Robert in, I feel like Robert really could bat anywhere from like 4 to like 8. Like maybe Polanco's in the cleanup. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of different like Fangraphs has Luis Robert batting 7th. They got Polanco batting cleanup, Semien hitting 5th, which I don't know, that might be a little rich for my blood. They have Beatty in the 6th. They have Beatty in the 6th hole, Alvarez 7, Robert 8th, and then Carson Bench currently penciled in, I guess, as the everyday left fielder batting 9th, which I think that makes sense and you can work with that. I do think with someone like Marcus Semien, if this year is anything like his past few years at the plate, you're probably going to have to do a lot of juggling with the lineup, I think, and a lot of switching around. Obviously, the top 3, even top 4 is like very solid, but yeah, I could see Robert pretty much being anywhere from 5 to 8, or even you could even hit Robert 9th because I mean with his speed, that's not a bad it's not bad to turn to have that speed on the base to turn the lineup over back to Lindor.
Well, I mean, we've seen more and more teams start to display that second leadoff hitter where your number 9 guy, it's not the traditional, light hitting infielder batting 9th. It's going to be a table setter to make sure the top 3 of the order, gets those extra at bats, has someone on base for Lindor and Soto to be able to move up. I wouldn't be against that either. And also, and I'm just kind of thinking about what the Fangraphs lineup you brought up. If you want to keep it doing lefty righty, basically, you go depending on which kind of game you have. You have Lindor usually hitting left, Soto hitting left, Bichette hitting right, Polanco hitting left, Semien hitting right. You can kind of keep that going if you have Carson Bench as your 8 hitter and Robert hitting 9th. But this was one of those things that, once the Semien trade kind of was the first domino to all of this, the one thing I kept harping on was, okay, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Well, really, over this past week, we've started to get the next things. And all of a sudden, as we sit here right now on January 22nd, okay, not a perfect team, but is this arguably a better team than the one that field in Miami? I think there's a real case for it.
I think there's a case for it. You're definitely starting to see the vision. And obviously, with the way that last year ended and with all just kind of all the rot that seemed to be there, and it seemed like that team just wasn't as tight knit as the 2024 team, or as maybe what was the year they hung the really good friends banner? Was that the 2021 or 22 team that was?
Might have been the 22. I mean, the 22 team won 100 games.
Yeah,
but the Braves also didn't lose.
Yeah, it seemed that with the team being, it seemed like the team was kind of in disarray. Obviously, after a collapse like that, you can't just run it back with the same team. Like you're going to have to shake it up somehow. So I think now, you might still be a couple of pieces away from really being cooking something up. But I think as of right now, you kind of have to see the vision. And speaking of the next thing, let's get to the next thing, which was, of course, the Freddy Peralta trade. Stearns putting his nuts on the table and striking a deal with the Milwaukee Brewers to get their ace, Freddy Peralta, who they gave up. They gave up Brandon Sproat, Jet Williams, so two top prospects, and then also Tobias Myers went back in the trade.
Which low-key could end up being a big help for the Mets at some point, because we've seen Tobias Myers be an above-average starter, and we've also seen him be a good reliever as well. Two numbers on that front. I think people always talk about, Devin Williams in game 3 of the 24 wildcard series. Tobias Myers started that game, and he threw 5 shutout innings, and he gave up 2 hits. And those were the only 2 hits the Mets had until that faithful 9th inning. They just had nothing for him. But more importantly, and especially right now with the logjam that the Mets potentially could have in the rotation, which we'll get to in a minute, but saw this stat today, and I thought this was pretty interesting too. Tobias Myers as a reliever this past season, 28 1/3 innings, 20 strikeouts, 3 walks, a 1.91 ERA, and a WHIP under 1. That'll help.
Yeah,
I think we mentioned on the last show, there's a good back end of the bullpen between Williams, Weaver, Raley, and Minter. And that's good. That's 4 guys you can count on. But 4 guys does not a bullpen make. You're going to need other dudes, and you've got to do it in a way to make sure that these guys aren't burned out by June. Myers absolutely fits.
Yeah, I mean,
but if guys get hurt, that's also one of the first guys you can call up.
Yeah, and Peralta and McLean at the top of the rotation should help a lot as far as I think those are 2 guys that can both. I think that a full year of McLean, you haven't really seen him do it for a full year, but I think he's someone who can eat a lot of innings. And I mean, Freddy Peralta has pitched 165 innings or more the past 3 years. So as long as he's healthy, you're going to get. You're going to get quality starts from him, and that he's going to go deep in the game. So that should kind of help the bullpen a lot too in terms of that, because obviously kind of right out the gate, the biggest problem for the Mets last year was that they were getting no length from their starters. It literally started opening day with Clay Holmes, and they just kind of in a lot of ways just kind of were never able to fully recover from it.
And you bring that up, but all of a sudden, and this is what we talk about, just making 1 or 2 of these moves changes the scope of things so much, because now you have not just Peralta and McLean as your top 2, but all of a sudden David Peterson's your 3. Hey, you can work with that. Clay Holmes is your 4.
Yeah.
All right. That's probably what Clay Holmes was supposed to be the whole time.
Right.
So a hopeful bounce back from Sean Manaea is your 5. Hey, all right. Okay.
And then
suddenly you're a lot more optimistic about that group.
What do you do with Senga?
That's going to be the question throughout the spring, and it's one of those that he's going to have to earn that spot back, or he might just have to be in the pen for the moment until someone goes down, because I look at those other three, and it's David Peterson, much like Clay Holmes, just physically broke down. It was the most innings he ever threw. But in the first half, when he still had a lot in the tank, pitched like an all-star, earned his all-star berth. So now you think, okay, he's going to be better built this year to withstand that. All right. Probably a reason to keep him in the rotation. Clay Holmes on the balance of 2025. Yes, could be frustrating. There were a lot of outings where he just barely got to 5 innings. But then you look at the season end numbers and you go, yeah, that's probably right for where he was. And finished well. And not just in game 161, but in September had a couple outings where it's, okay, wow, you were actually able to push past your limits here. Okay. So I think Holmes has earned the right to be in the rotation. Sean Manaea, I still cling to the idea of the changes that he made in 2024. He changed his arm angle. Nothing that he did in 2024 was the result of something fluky where you could point to and go, well, he's not going to be able to do that again. Like, he did something that he hadn't done before physically. And he was never right at any point last year. He had the oblique injury that kept him out for 3 months. And then when he came back, he had the loose bodies in his elbow, which I know can't be good. So if you want to enter this year with the idea of, well, he's got a clean bill of health this time, and the last time he was fully healthy, we saw what that Sean Manaea looked like. I'm willing to give that guy a shot. As far as Kodai Senga, yes, the great first season in 2023, but he pitched 5 innings in the regular season in 2024. And then once he got hurt in June last year, just completely disappeared.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't know what I'm getting from Kodai Senga. The other three, after Peralta and McClain, I can reasonably look at and go, okay, if they're physically good to go, I know what I can get. I'm willing. I feel like I can bank on those three to hit their ceiling more than I can bank on that with Kodai Senga right now.
Yeah, where does Jonah Tong factor into all this too? I mean, is he just starting the season in the minors, like in Syracuse?
I think most likely just so that they can make sure that he stays on a typical starter's schedule and a starter's workload where he's going and throwing 6 innings at AAA.
For the if and when he is needed.
Yeah, and I think you just got to go to him and say, hey, look, this is baseball. It's 2026. Guys get hurt. It is going to happen.
Yeah, like we are going to need
this as an indictment of you or your talent or anything else, but you see what's in front of you. But someone's going to get hurt. Go work. Keep shining. We're going to call your name eventually. Be ready.
We are going to need you at some point, so be ready.
You keep that right frame of mind. You're going to be counted on at some point.
Yeah, I think Senga. I do think there's a decent chance that Senga gets moved. I don't know if it happens before the season, but I think it would make sense to. I think it would make sense to try and move him for another piece. Whether you're, I don't know if you're just kind of, I don't know if you're just kind of like selling him off and just kind of giving up on the experiment, or if you're, maybe you don't want to do that, or maybe you're trading him for like another outfielder or something. But I do think that he could be a valuable asset in a trade.
The question that I would have is,
there is a team out there that's probably looking at Kodai Senga and thinking like, we can work with this and we can fix this guy.
Well, I guess my concern would be is just, what is his value right now coming off last year? And, I think you're right. There probably are teams that look at him and think, hey, yeah, we can fix this. But they also probably look at it and go, hey, you know what? We could probably get this for a steal right now. Like the Mets probably don't really think a whole lot of him. We don't have to give up too much.
Unless you're packaging him for something bigger.
Potentially. Yeah. But and as far as the haul going back to Milwaukee, Brandon Sproat, this was going to be one of those things where, Matt Arnold is a good GM for the Brewers. And I feel like if they were going to give up Freddy Peralta a year before free agency, coming off the year he did, Like the Brewers were not going to get fleeced. Like this is what they do. And, given the fact that we had McLean, Sprode, and Tong all come up last year to varying
Stearns
degrees
has previous
of success.
ties with the Brewers, right? So like he wasn't just gonna be able to rip them off.
Matt Arnold followed Stearns, so you knew there was going to be some overlap here. And David Stearns traded for Freddy Peralta when he was with the Brewers. He got Freddy Peralta for Adam Lind when Freddy Peralta was 19. So, but you figured they would ask for a pitcher in return. You know how the Brewers are with young pitchers. It wouldn't shock me if both him and Jet Williams become pretty reliable players for them.
They seem to know what they're doing with their player development too.
Jet Williams won't play second because they already have Bryce Terang there, but I could absolutely see Jet Williams patrolling center for them. And he does kind of have the athletic profile of the kind of guy that the Brewers have just churned out hit after hit with between Bryce Terang and Sal Frelick. So many of those guys make up their team. So if Jet Williams just becomes another one of them, I could see it. But
yeah, definitely.
I didn't flinch when I saw that, when it's like the Mets will send Sprode and Williams. It's just, hey, look, you're getting a guy who finished top 5 in Cy Young voting. He's been one of the best pitchers in the NL for the past handful of years. Like this is how that works.
Yeah, you're getting a bona fide ace, and that's something you've needed, and this is the cost of doing business. You're gonna need to give up something if you want to get something.
Freddy Peralta is one of 7 pitchers since 2021 with at least 700 innings and an ERA plus of 125, and he has the highest strikeout percentage of all of them. And just to give you the other names on that list, Logan Webb, Framber Valdez, Max Fried, Corbin Burns, Zach Wheeler, Tarek Skubal. If I can do the old bit from the kids' TV show, horny.
If you are looking for, I do have a name in mind for you. If you're looking for like another, like a fourth outfielder or some depth out there, or if you don't want to give Carson Benz, like the burden of being an everyday player, like right away, Mike Tauchman's still out there. And I know that doesn't.
Mike Tauchman once a year has like a week and a half where you're like, oh, hey, yeah, Mike Tauchman does do this. And then you forget.
Mike Tauchman, I was watching this before we jumped in the studio. I was watching this Foolish Baseball video about Mike Tauchman, and he has like the 11th highest on base percentage over the span of the last 3 seasons.
My God, I didn't know he had that.
Yeah, no, the man gets on base.
Those power sprees, but I didn't know he also like just got on base like that.
The man gets on base. He does have the occasional Linsanity run where he's like hitting home runs left and right for like a week. Circa Brandon Lau or something like that. But no, he was breaking it down in the video, and like he gets on base, he walks a shit ton, but he's not a passive hitter. Like he's not like aggressive, but he still has the right basically like he has a very good approach. Like he still swings at everything that you should be swinging at, that's like in the heart of the plate. And he doesn't really chase a lot of balls out of the strike zone.
It's really interesting looking at his career numbers, because basically from the time he comes up with the Rockies through 2021, when before he leaves for Korea for 1 year, he has one good on base here, which is 2019, which 2019. So take of that what you will, but that wasn't really his thing. And then he went to Korea, and I'm sure probably overhauled his entire game, which credit to him, because there are guys that should do that and don't. And there have been plenty of guys who went overseas to Japan or Korea, got right, came back, and had productive careers after. As far as hitters, like Eric Thames is the first one I think of, and it's kind of a similar thing. He is a much different and a much better player now, because you're right. 363, 357, 356 since he came back. And he's been first year back with the Cubs, he was worth 2.7 WAR. Then he was worth 0.6. And last year with the White Sox, 1.9. Like that's somebody. That's something.
Yeah.
Like, you're not building the whole team out of that, but like, hey, you can plug that in.
Yeah. If you're looking for, like another piece for depth in your outfield, I think he's I think he's like a pretty good like vibes guy, like around like the the clubhouse and the locker room too, and he played with Robert too, so there'd be some familiarity there. So that could be could be like one of those sneaky good signings, but he's still a free agent. He's still out there.
If we didn't have as many guys who are probably going to need the DH spot, I would say, yeah, just make that your full-time DH. That's exactly what it's for. But we're going to have a bunch of guys that need it.
Yeah.
Especially with the
DH
logic
room
we have.
Yeah. The
but
DH
I don't hate that idea.
Crowded. But yeah, I mean, so you would say overall, now that you've kind of seen, and I think there's still, I still think that there might be another move or two that the Mets have up their sleeve. But now that you're kind of seeing the picture come together, I mean, how much better would you say you feel now as opposed to, I don't know, let's say November 23rd when they made that trade?
Full 180. I think I said earlier in the show, not a perfect team and still some things that you'd like to shore up. You still, I think, are counting on that Peterson and Holmes will hold up better and that Manaea will bounce back, and those are not sure things, but right. I feel reasonably confident in them. But all of a sudden now, knowing that at the top of your rotation, you have one of the best pitchers in baseball of the past 5 years, and he's still in his 20s, granted not for long, but you're not getting a guy at 32, you're getting a guy at 29. So he probably still has quite a few good years ahead of him.
Yeah, he still has a couple of prime years left.
You got McClain, who's just starting his career out and was absolutely a guy that you relied on down the stretch last year and came through. On the list of guys who can hold their heads high coming out of last year, Nolan McClain's one of them. He absolutely not at fault for what happened. So you have those two at the top, and then it's, okay, well, there's well within reason to think those other three that I mentioned can bounce back and contribute to this team. The offense, yes, had cold stretches. Yes, got shut out in game 162. But on the whole, the offense generally held up its end last year.
Yeah.
And you're adding the potential that Luis Robert has with his bat. You've added Marcus Semien, who we've seen his career. You're adding Bo Bichette. We know what he does. Like, yes, hard to lose Pete. Hard to lose Nimmo. And I get the sentiment, the tie-in. I get it. I personally, I would like for Pete to still be here. But all of a sudden, now that we've started to fill some of that in, there's a world where it's like, hey, yeah, this could be a playoff team. Do I think it's a World Series winning team? Right now, no. But I think the one thing that we all have to remind ourselves is we look at the Dodgers as the Death Star, and I get it. The Dodgers were like this close multiple times to not winning the World Series this past year.
Yeah.
As tough as it looks, as hard as it looks, it's not as far off as you think. So,
yeah, and I would say you're closer, or you have a team that is more capable of maybe knocking them off now than you did than you did on September 30th.
And who knows, like things break over the course of a season, and this kind of feels now like it's more of the team that Stearns wanted probably all along. Like, I think he probably wanted to do this in 2024, and then they got hot, and he's like, well, I can't dismantle this.
Yeah, he was probably ready to blow it up at the deadline.
So now it's closer to his team. And, hey, if this team gets off to the start that it did last year, where, hey, 46-24, but does a better job holding it up, like, he's going to be aggressive at the trade deadline. I think he probably did as well as he could have last year. I think the White Sox were not coming off Luis Robert no matter what. The long since rumored is that they wanted Vientos, and the Mets just weren't going to do that. And credit to the Mets for not giving in. Like, yeah, obviously the end result was Cedric Mullins, and that wasn't great. But ultimately, they get their guy at a much lower price.
Yeah.
So, if this team's in contention and they're in the mix come July 31st, I have no doubt that Stearns will go out and at least do his best to get those upgrades, because now he can look at it and go, no, this is the team that I wanted.
Yeah, the team is more. Yeah, the team is more like in his vision now, and it doesn't. It probably doesn't feel as much as like, oh, we're kind of just like punting on 2026 and looking ahead to like 27 and 28.
Yeah,
if anything, I'd say that the recent, these most recent moves probably make it more like you're going to be very aggressive and trying to go all in on 2026. Because although Freddy Peralta said he was open to, signing an extension with the Mets, as of right now, this is the last year on his deal. So I think you would want to, having a bona fide ace like that and having him healthy, I think you'd want to maximize that.
Yeah, it's two things. I officially rescind my statement that they're punting. I think at the very least, they're trying to put a contending team out there. Again, I don't know if.
I don't think they ever were punting. I think it just kind of felt like they were punting, or it kind of felt like, David Stearns was like trying to like outsmart everyone. And now it looks like, all right, maybe this guy actually kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I still don't know if we're equal with Philly in the NL East. I mean, I know people are upset with what seems to be the Phillies' lack of inactivity, basically other than re-signing Kyle Schwarber, which is big.
Yeah.
To me, so much of what the Phillies are going to be next year depends on how does Zach Wheeler come back from the blood clots. I know people have said that his case of thoracic outlet syndrome is closer to what Merrill Kelly had, and he had a career after that, than it is to what ultimately struck down Matt Harvey. But still, Zach Wheeler is over 35. He's got a lot of innings on that arm. And even if it's a lesser case of thoracic outlet syndrome, that's still not something you want.
Yeah. So, and like Nola looks cooked.
Yeah. And they lost Ranger Suarez, someone I definitely wanted, and we'll get to that. I think they've gotten a little closer to Philly. I certainly believe that, if nothing else. And this is the other reason I'm excited about the Bichette thing. They have not recovered from that. They are beyond livid that they didn't get that done. People are
they are still big mad. And they're especially mad that I'm sure they're especially mad that of all the teams to swoop in and get him, it was you guys.
Yep.
And the fact that I'm surprised they haven't done something stupid like in the aftermath, like out of rage, like, oh, we're gonna we lost out on Juan Soto, like let's rage sign Paul Goldschmidt or something like that.
Well, the great thing is because they were just banking on like, oh, this is cool. We'll just plug Bichette in at second or third. We'll move Bryson Stott or something, but we can finally trade Alec Boehm.
Yeah. Bro's big man. He wanted Bo Bichette, but he didn't have Bo Bichette money. Alec Boehm.
Adolis Garcia, it is, champ.
Yeah. True truth it is then, champ. Anyway,
we have to move on.
Yeah, time to move on. So moving on to the Yankees and the AL East. The world's dumbest staring contest is finally over.
I hadn't heard that one.
God, I just realized I spelt that wrong in the banner. But Cody Bellinger finally re-signs with the Yankees, 5 years, $162.5 million. And I will say this, I'll say good on the Yankees for, not giving in and not doing anything stupid here, like adding a 6th or 7th year or adding like an extra, however much, adding an extra $50 million or anything stupid like that. Cause it really seemed like for a while, and especially after Kyle Tucker went to the Dodgers, it was kind of like, oh, fuck, the Mets might swoop in here and they might get Bellinger. But then once the Mets
felt about that.
Yeah, but then once the Mets traded for Robert, it was like okay, well, they're probably out on Bellinger now, so like, I think we're gonna get I think we're gonna get a decision here pretty I think we're gonna get a decision here pretty soon. And then like a tweet came out saying that he was I think it was a Heyman tweet because Heyman, is the Boris shill and has been shilling for Boris since the beginning of time. Was just like, what do you call it? Bellinger's mulling over like offers from the Yankees, and I think it was like the Yankees, Mets, and like
Blue Jays.
two mystery teams. Who I am going to say the two mystery teams were the Dodgers and the Pirates. That's just what I'm choosing to believe. But the Mets, I think they only offered like they offered a very short term, like high AAV type of deal,
which I'm good with for those. Like that's like one of those like, hey, we like you right now. If you want money, all right, cool. We'll give you a lot of it. We can't give you length, but if you want 45 mil a year, cool. We can do that.
And
you're not getting handcuffed for year 6 and year 7 when the player that you signed might not be the player you have anymore. So that was another reason I was good with the Bichette deal, because I don't know how he's going to hold up, but for 3 years, all right, you give him 42 million. All right, if he's willing to do a 3-year deal, then all right, let's do that. I'm fine with going that route.
And I was a little bit worried that he might have been willing to take that shorter deal with the Mets, kind of like what we saw with Pete Alonso, where like a market never, like last year with Pete Alonso, where like a market never really materialized. So he kind of bet on himself for one more year. Like, okay, you can, bet on yourself for a year, and then you can, really hit free agency and get your big contract next year. But he took the he took the Yankees offer, which I think the deal was perfectly fair. I think for both sides, even 5 years for Bellinger is kind of pushing it a little, but it's definitely obviously a lot more reasonable than 7 years. Obviously he has a bat tailor-made for Yankee Stadium. He can play a little first too if we need him to. It's pretty versatile in the outfield. And he does, in addition to his bat, he is actually a pretty good defender. So definitely happy to have him back. Definitely happy to have him back. Hopefully his future postseason performances are better than the one he just had. And yeah, I'm kind of in the camp of, where you were when the Mets were making all these moves like earlier in the offseason, where it's just like, okay, like that's cool, but what's next? Because, as of now, you're basically for the most part just running back the same squad that you're running back the same squad that you ran out last year, which was pretty outmatched pretty badly by the Blue Jays, I would say. So, what are you going to do to move that needle to move yourself closer to Toronto?
Yeah, it's we're going to get to it in a minute, but it's been an interesting off season in the AL East because everybody's done something.
Yeah.
Like, Baltimore's kind of put down their flag to say, hey, we're going to bounce back here in 26. The Jays are doing what they can to prove they're not a one-hit wonder, and the Red Sox,
they're doing everything they can, I think, to try and get back to the dance and win it this time.
Yeah, this is basically like we're not okay with just having 25 as like a year to remember type stuff. Like we want to keep this going.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that this was Cody Bellinger's best year by WAR since his MVP season. Like, yeah, I knew he had an injury-related cliff a little bit, but
yeah, it fell off.
I didn't realize like, oh, he was a 5-win player in 2025, which taking into account the center field defense and the power numbers. Okay, yeah, all of a sudden this makes more sense, but I don't hate it being 6 years for a guy who's going to be 31. Like, I guess the bet you're making is with his power playing at Yankee Stadium, that can offset whatever athletic decline that he may incur as a center fielder. And I think you bet on the idea of, even if he loses his athleticism a little bit, like, we can still put him in left. Or
well, I do think he's gonna play. I do think he's gonna play left for the most part, and Trent Grisham's gonna be the center fielder.
True. Yeah.
But yeah, so like I'm not even too worried about that. I mean, you might eventually lose the ability or the versatility to put him in center field, and that left field defense might decline a little bit as his career goes on. But I mean, we've seen even Giancarlo Stanton can play left field every once in a while at Yankee Stadium. So I think that him aging, in a corner outfield position in Yankee Stadium, I think you can survive that, and you kind of, like you said, with his bat and with his swing being the way they are, that you hope that ages at least somewhat gracefully, as you get towards the end of the contract. There are opt-outs after, I believe it was years 2 and years 3. There are player opt-outs. So I do like that too, that potentially, he'd have no reason to opt out if he was playing like shit and he's not gonna get, and he's not gonna get a better deal. But I do like that there are those potential I do like that there are those potential outs too.
Yeah, and this is one of those, hey, if he's good enough to opt out at that point, well, it's okay, hey, then he played well enough that it's probably benefiting us. So, all right, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Exactly. If he's playing well enough, cool. Here you go. Thanks for the help.
But like I said, in the short video I posted yesterday, was this was pretty much the bare minimum of what the Yankees needed to get done this offseason, especially as all these other free agents and trades, started flying off the board. It was all right, it's time to get this done. At least get Bellinger back, because I think you're in a position then where you're in a position then where I don't think the Yankees wanted any part of making Jason Dominguez an everyday player. I think the Yankees are probably at a point where they'd be very okay with trading him. As far as Spencer Jones goes, obviously this keeps the outfield, crowded, a little too crowded for him a little longer. So I don't know if they just plan on keeping him in the minors one more year. And, after Trent Grisham, presumably Trent Grisham will probably walk after this year. I have my doubts that they'll give him another qualifying offer in 2027. Maybe they call him up then and they have him just be the center fielder from 2027 on, or if he's someone that they want to, if he's someone that they want to flip in a trade to try and improve the roster. I'm not entirely sure what Spencer Jones's value is at this point, but I would imagine that the Yankees and the league are probably a little more, probably a little more bullish on him, but maybe not. Maybe he's not like a untouchable prospect. You only trade this guy if you're getting Paul Skeens or Jose Ramirez. But maybe he's someone that you could flip for someone who a very good everyday starter.
I did see this being thrown around in the Discord earlier this week about Trent Grisham. Do you think that was a bluff and they weren't expecting Grisham to take the qualifying offer? Or, I know we talked about when that went down that more people are starting to take the qualifying offer from a sense of hey, let me just get this while I can, because we don't know what's looming in 18 months. Let me take the security of. Do you think the Yankees got caught off guard and they were just kind of doing that? Just, not necessarily, I don't know if obligation's the right word, but more a sense of, all right, we're supposed to do this. If we lose them, we're going to get the draft pick attached, and that's cool. But, like, we're just supposed to do this. And then when they got word that Grisham was going to do, like, do you think they were like, oh, crap, we didn't actually think he'd do that? Or do you think, like, they're happy to have Grisham back in that sense? Because I saw some of the talk on the Discord, and I can't totally speak to it because I'm not as plugged in, and I don't know how much you've heard, but what was your thoughts?
I think, I think that I don't think they would have done that if they didn't want him back. I don't think they would have done that just to, like, get a 4th round pick or whatever. I think maybe they thought he wouldn't take it, but I don't think, like maybe they went into it thinking, like, that he wouldn't take it, but I don't think they were bluffing or that they didn't want him back. I think that there was an interest in bringing him back. They figured, all right, like, let's put this out there and just see what happens. And I don't know, I guess, certainly the lack of activity afterwards definitely makes it seem like maybe that handicapped or handcuffed their whole offseason or their whole plan. But also, like, it's $22 million, which to a billionaire like Hal Steinbrenner shouldn't be a lot of money, but, he's definitely acting in a way. But pretty much ever since Hal had that press conference where he, like, basically said, we're not, like, turning a profit and we're not making money, I think he kind of, like, the expectation was kind of set pretty early, like that. Yeah, we're not going to be doing much in the off season. And I kind of think that may have been the case regardless of Trent Grisham came back or not. Like I don't think the Yankees would have necessarily, I'm sure they would have done something to get another outfielder had Grisham not accepted the deal, but I don't think it would have been like say Grisham turns down the qualifying offer. I don't think it would have been like, okay, cool. Like, we got our pick and, like, let's go on a spending spree now. Like, I think they did it, and what happened. And I think they're happy to have him back to an extent. I do have my concerns with Grisham. I feel like he's definitely a regression candidate. So I'm definitely concerned, but I'm sure they wanted him back or were happy to have him back. I mean, if nothing else, like, he's a very solid defensive center fielder too. So yeah, I'm sure I don't think they would have done that if they, like, were just trying to get a 4th round draft pick.
Yeah, because I think we might have talked about it at the time when all that went down in terms of all the guys that took the qualifying offer. And I think I asked you, and I think you said you were good with this, is that if Trent Grisham just has the exact same season in 2026, like, everybody takes that, right? Even if making $22 million.
Yeah, no, you sign up for that production in a heartbeat. I just have my doubts or my reservations of whether or not he can replicate that type of season again, though, because this was kind of the first time we've, like, really seen it with Grisham. I mean, he was always, like, a nice player in San Diego, but
yeah,
just not. He didn't really get the sample size. So it's just as of now, it's hard, and he's already like, he's already, like, creeping into his 30s. So it's just a little sus that he kind of had this breakout year, like, this late, I guess.
It is one of those things, though, that there's right to have suspicion with that, but I think there's always something where it's like, okay, well, what was your situation? Did you have injuries? Did you make a change to your swing? Did you, because we look at, Justin Turner's one. Justin Turner did not have that plate approach when he started. Max Muncy's another guy. Like, the A's basically just said, here, take him. Yeah. And then they're like, well, swing up. And I would say now is in the top 10 in Dodger history for home runs. Yeah. Like, there's any number of reasons why guys, maybe don't get it till their late 20s or early 30s. So I don't necessarily look at that and go, okay, well, that guy's definitely not going to be able to continuously do it. Sometimes it's like, no, you just needed a little bit of runway. You needed to know that you were going to have an everyday job and you didn't have to look over your shoulder every time you made a mistake. Because, yeah, for Trent Grisham, his first 2 years, 51 games in 2019. He did play 59 of 60 in the COVID season. So fair enough there. And actually had a decent slash line.
Yeah.
And then he was a 3-win player in San Diego. And okay, yeah. So over his time in San Diego, 3.1 WAR, 2.7, 1.8. All right.
Yeah. No,
and then he only had 76 games in 2024 because whatever happened there.
Yeah, fucking Alex Verdugo was Aaron Judge's best friend, so he had to play every day.
It basically just seems like if you just give this guy runway to just be like, hey, look, job's yours. You're going to get 500 plate appearances. You're going to get about a 2.5 to 3 WAR player.
Yeah, and I think if you want to look at it, because I think, glass half empty it's going to be very, glass half empty. It's going to be very difficult. Or, it's suspect at best that he's going to replicate this production again this year. But if you want to look at it glass half full, from what we've heard from, certain ball players and, what we like, particularly Andrew McCutchen, the balls were like very unjuiced last year. So the fact that he hit 34 home runs in a like dead ball, like a dead non-juiced ball season, I think that would be a reason to be encouraged that he could potentially, continue on that path of being just like a late bloomer as far as a power hitter goes, or maybe just being in a hitter friendly park now as opposed to like Petco or Milwaukee.
I mean, and even if he doesn't, reach 34 home runs again, say he's a guy that gets, 20 homers, 15 steals, and plays good center field. He's a multi-time Gold Glove winner. Like, if that's your, I mean, and granted, I understand that the conundrum that Yankee fans have here, which is like, well, we got to get Judge more protection. And I certainly understand that. But if you get a 15 to 20 homer player who's also going to steal about 15 to 20 bases every year and also plays a Gold Glove caliber center field, you sign up for that, right? Like, even at $22 million, it's like,
yeah,
well,
100%.
That's just the going rate,
It's not my $22 million.
Always important to remember, it's not our money.
Yeah, so I would absolutely. Yeah, and as of now, there's still no salary cap. So as of now, yeah, I definitely sign up for that. I mean, Baseball Reference has his projections, and obviously projections are just that. But Baseball Reference projects him a slight dip. They have him getting 22 home runs, 61 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, and 64 walks with 224. 224 batting average, 328 OBP, 418 slugging, 746 OPS. Like, all right, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, and also players, do not cave on the cap. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't buy this idea that's kind of been floated since the Kyle Tucker thing. It's like, oh, well, this is definitely going to be the thing that makes them do the cap now. It's like, the commissioner was in the Phillies locker room while Kyle Tucker was still on the Cubs, you understand? Like, this was always the move. This is another PR thing for them to try. They didn't just all of a sudden just like open their paper last Friday and go, my God, what have we done?
Yeah. Or I mean, the commissioner was also in the Phillies, in the Astros locker room when the Phillies lost to the Astros in the World Series with Kyle Tucker.
That's right.
It all ties together. But
and listen, because I actually haven't had a chance to get this joke off. Everybody was talking about the fact that like Bryce Harper, like, I don't know if he threatened the commissioner, but he basically shouted him out of the locker room, and everyone's like, "Oh man, Bryce should have fought him." I don't know if you've seen a picture of Bryce lately. I don't know if he wants to do that. Dialysis out here is what he's actually doing. They won't call it that, but that's what it is.
What is he like looking? Has he been looking like scrawny?
Oh, and he he posted on his Instagram account. He went to see some doctor and people like looked this guy up. They're like, this dude has major issues. And he was like, hang on, I want to pull it up. But like, they basically like took the blood out of him and like rejuvenated it. Like he did something very fucking weird. Like like we all thought we thought the raw milk thing was crazy. Here we go. So this was on, EBOO is a procedure in which 1/3 of your blood is drawn from your body, passed through a filtration and ozonation device, and then returned to your bloodstream. Circulates the blood outside your body, exposes the blood to the ozone, and will oxygenate or filter the blood before returning it to you. My guy, Dr. Josh Red, is a magician. Had a great week of wellness starting with this awesome machine.
Damn.
And he also does not even look like Bryce Harper in the picture, to which some people said, yeah, he's got 5 kids and they're all under 5. Like, yeah, he's not sleeping. But also, just, again, does not look great.
Yeah, that sounds like some Aaron Rodgers shit or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I'd be selling my Bryce Harper stock now. I think. I know that like earlier in the very early stages of the offseason, there was Bryce Harper trade rumors, if you remember.
And apparently he showed up. He was like just doing like a batting cage session somewhere, and sure enough, he was wearing a T-shirt that said "Not Elite," and it's like scary hours.
Wait, what did the shirt say?
Not elite, because that's what Dombrowski said. It's like, oh well, can he return to that elite level? And everyone's like, oh no.
Yeah. Good Lord.
The Aaron Rodgers thing, though, at this time next year, may I be able to say, and Bryce Harper, who was on crack?
Yeah, there's definitely seems to be some parallels there. But yeah, I don't know. I know that there was some Bryce Harper trade rumors very early in the offseason that the Yankees were kind of linked to those trade rumors, and at the time I may have been down, but as of now I'm kind of I'm pretty okay with the fact that it never came to fruition. I mean, I still think, even with hindsight being 2020, I still think like we should definitely sign him in 2019. But
no, you're fair for that.
But it is what it is, and it seems like I don't know about Bryce Harper anymore. That's all I can say. Feel free to clip this when he hits like 50 home runs this year, I guess.
Oh, I just realized you said you were surprised that the Phillies didn't make a panic move after the Bichette thing. Some would contest that they did, because they did bring Real Muto back at some point. Like, I think if the Bichette news came at like 12 noon last Friday, I want to say the Real Muto news came out 3-4 o'clock. It wasn't long after, and it was 3-4. It's either in the 40s or the 50s. But people were like, "Wow, that was sudden."
Yeah, 3 years.
There hadn't been any talk at all for anybody with Real Muto. He hadn't been linked with anyone. Like didn't seem like there was any market at all. And then this happens, where they thought they'd had this in the bag. I mean, the Mets really hadn't been linked with Bichette. And I guess that's the other thing that.
Yeah, that's a lot for a 35-year-old catcher,
who's got a lot of innings.
Yeah,
and like we said, there was no market before that.
Yeah, so I guess they did make a panic move, but it was like such a, I don't know. I guess maybe it just.
I don't know if you could call it a panic move if you're bringing back your own guy, though. Like, you didn't just go grab.
Yeah, it's not like you made a trade. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is one of those like things that like you could argue, like if Curb Your Enthusiasm was like a baseball show, like this is the type of stuff they'd argue about. Like, is this a panic move or is it not? Like, what's the statute of limitations here?
There's the I think you should leave baseball account. We might have to start doing Curb Your Enthusiasm, but baseball.
Yeah,
I don't hate that.
Curveball your enthusiasm.
Ooh, that's really good. That's really good. We did hint at it,
or just curve your enthusiasm.
See, we just put a little spark out there, and look what we're already doing.
Yeah.
But we did mention it briefly, and I'm kind of interested to get your take. Is there's been activity throughout the AL East this offseason. Obviously, Toronto going and getting Dylan Cease to strengthen the rotation. They're able to bring in Okamoto was the other one. But Toronto definitely, and they've been aggressive in trying to get other guys. They brought in Tyler Rogers,
Cody Ponce.
Yeah, who was one of the top. It feels funny to say this about Cody Ponce because he's from California, but he was one of the other big international names, considering he was over in Korea. And they gave him something. It was 30 over 5. So they're definitely trying to do something.
Yeah,
they're definitely like, we're not okay with just getting to Game 7. We're trying to finish this.
And I mean, last year, like, you know, the thing about it too, like last year they basically, you know, they got to, you know, they pretty much rode their hitting to the World Series. And, you know, it kind of felt like every step of the way we were like, all right, well, you know, like I thought the Yankees were going to win that series because I thought our pitching was going to be much better than theirs, which obviously turned out to not be the case. And then, you know, they were doing this. I can't remember the young guy's name who.
Oh, Trey Savage.
Yeah, Trey Savage. Obviously he had some pretty historically good performances in the playoffs, but you know, we kind of kept saying like, all right, like, yeah, you have this kid, but like after that, it's like, you know, you got like Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett. So I'd say they definitely made significant upgrades to their pitching staff. I'd also say that they made significant upgrades to their bullpen as well. So, you know, they seem very serious at, you know, trying to, you know, obviously they lost Bichette, but seems like they're very serious about giving it another, go. And then, yeah, obviously the Orioles, I wouldn't say they overhauled their team, but they had quite the, they had quite the active off season. I mean, obviously they get Pete Alonso, so they add Pete to, you know, the top of that lineup. They also get Taylor Ward in that trade for who did they send? Grayson Rodriguez, and then
they got Shane Baz from Tampa.
Yeah, they get Shane Baz from Tampa. They also they bring back they bring Zach Eflin back. They signed Ryan Helsley, which
I was about to say.
You know, I don't know about that one, but you know, they definitely put their, you know, they definitely you know, planted their flag and said, you know, obviously that what happened, you know, like what happened last year is not like the norm, and you know, I think maybe the noise got to them that, you know, that because obviously the owners kind of after that first year kind of fucked off with spending money.
I mean, they still haven't locked up Gunnar or Westberg or Rutschman or any of those guys, and they have been promoted as the saviors. So it's kind of like, all right, well, are you going to be different?
Yeah, but they're at least now they're adding, you know, they're adding some complementary pieces. So definitely seems like they're a team that's, you know, looking to compete in the AL East. You know, and then we did mention, you know, we mentioned the Red Sox as well. They signed Ranger Suarez to that 5-year deal. They trade for Wilson Contreras, which that kind of, you know, that definitely scares me a little bit. You know, they trade for Sonny Gray with the Cardinals, and you know, if history is any indication, Sonny Gray will probably, you know, Sonny Gray will probably be an incredible pitcher with the Red Sox now, because it seems like anytime someone pitches for the Yankees and isn't good, or maybe their tenure at the Yankees is short-lived, when they end up on the Red Sox, they're just that much better. Like Nathan Eovaldi, for example, Aroldis Chapman pitched maybe the best I've ever seen him last year with the Red Sox. So, you know, I have my and Sonny Gray now also. I mean, fuck Sonny Gray, but he's also seems motivated. He's talking all this shit about how he never wanted to be on the Yankees and how he's happy to be on a place where hating the
pointed out
Yankees.
Wilson Contreras was talking a whole bunch of shit too.
Yeah, so they're making it clear. They're making it clear that that they want a piece of us. And then you have they also made that trade with the Pirates where they traded Josh Nixon Garcia for Johan Oviedo. So
you didn't know that? That's I believe it's pronounced Jonathan, and his nickname is the Password, just because of how his first name.
Right. Yeah, Password Garcia.
which is nicknames have been a dying art form, but that's a glimmer of hope. That's really good.
It is funny that his name looks like Josh Nixon, and when they had Trot Nixon for all those years.
But take comfort, Yankee fans, or Red Sox. Red Sox or Yankee fans. They traded Rafael Devers because we have Bregman, we're fine.
Yeah, and now he's gone.
They did not have Bregman.
No, they did not. But the Red Sox definitely still worry me because on top of that, they still have probably the deepest prospect pool in all baseball. So you're gonna see another year of Cedeno, Rafaela, and those guys are they have the pieces to swing a trade to get like another top of the line ace if they want someone to pair with Garrett Crochet or if they want to get Rafael Devers caliber hitter, but just somebody else, like they're equipped to do that too.
Honestly,
and then the Rays,
I think they paired Suarez with Crochet. I think that was, Crochet's
kind of the
Crochet's
plan.
Definitely their number one, but I don't think they had an out and out number two behind him. Ranger Suarez is that.
So they definitely are going to have a very good rotation, assuming they stay healthy. So, and they still got Chapman. So, yeah, I think the Red Sox are definitely, it's going to be another year of them definitely being pretty pesky. And then the Rays, the Rays made some, I guess, they made Rays-esque moves. They traded for Gavin Lux and they signed your boy Steven Matz and your other boy Cedric Mullins.
They've officially moved on from all the lows, by the way.
Yep.
Brandon gone, Josh is gone.
Yeah,
they
Brandon
let Nate go a few years back.
Yep. They also finally moved on from Pete Fairbanks, which I think that might be a mistake.
That was another one of those. It's like, okay, well, if the Mets just want to try to build like a bullpen with as many closers as possible, just go get Pete Fairbanks. It does scare me that he's on the Marlins. Like, that's not, like, heaven forbid we're in a situation again where we need every single game in September and we have to play the Marlins. I do not want to see Pete Fairbanks. I get why he's on the Marlins and why he wouldn't come to the Mets, because he has that, I forget the name of it, but it's some sort of disease with like blood circulation. And they're like, yeah, basically if you get cold for any length of time, you don't want to be there.
So he needs to be in a warm. So he needs to be like in a warm climate.
Right. Or at the very least indoors half the time. So he's getting that.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to see who else.
Pete Fairbanks has tuberculosis. So
Topher said that, not me.
Yeah, so as a whole, though, definitely definitely a lot of activity in the AL East. It definitely feels like our adversaries in division made more moves than we did. Obviously we brought back Bellinger. We did trade for Ryan Weathers, which I don't hate that move. He throws gas, so that's always welcomed. I feel like Ahmed Rosario is probably going to play a more significant role on this team than maybe we're expecting or maybe we want him to. You got some back end starters or possible tweeners between the starter, between the rotation and the bullpen with Ryan Yarbrough and Paul Blackburn. They got Paul DeJong on a minor league deal, but
I'll give you a piece of advice real quick for the Yankees. You want to keep Paul DeJong around through at least the Subway Series, and then if you bring him up against us, expect some of the greatest performances you will ever see in the history of the game, because for some reason Paul DeJong turns into 0-1 Bonds against us. For no rhyme or reason. It's not even like I'm mad at him. It's just like, man, he just always does this.
Yeah, he turns into John Dowd.
Yeah.
So I'm sure. I'm sure come. I forget when we play each other this year, but I do think we play each other like once in July, and I think we might have a September Subway Series this year. I was looking at the schedule the other day.
I think we do. I think they want to set it up because it's going to be 25 years since 9/11. I think they've done.
Yeah, I think the last time we
had the world aside, I do think it is a thing that they've done that now. Yep. Because September 11th is on a Friday this year. So it's going to be a 3-game series in the Bronx, which, world issues aside and us kind of becoming skeptical of everything. Like, I do think that's a nice thing to where, hey, if everybody's going to be able, if both leagues are going to be able to play each other throughout the year and we really make Yankees Mets a thing, like, we probably should make sure that they play on 9/11. And I'm
at least
considered enough of that.
Yeah, at least like at least once every like 5 years. Like, I think the last time we did it was 2021 for the 20th anniversary. So I think it makes sense. Like, every time you hit like a big, a significant
25, 30, 35.
Yeah, every 5 years, I think tracks. But yeah, I mean, pretty much every team in the AL East, made moves, and I think made moves with the intention of making their team better. Like even the Rays, I would say, the Rays definitely lost some pieces, like losing the Lau brothers, but I feel like, I feel like even they kind of have a plan to try to compete this year. I don't think they're going to compete in the East, but I think that this division is going to be and it was pretty tight last year. Obviously, Yankees and Blue Jays both had to go to game 162 to get the division decided. They both won 94 games. Red Sox were like right behind with 89 wins, but they kind of fell off at the end. But I would definitely expect this to be at least a 4-team race. I think that, I do think that Baltimore will at least be above 500 again.
I think this could be a year where it's like 5th place wins 79 games, which is a sign of a good division.
Yeah. So even that would even mean that the Rays are like getting 2 games better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it's definitely been interesting to see. But I guess that's why, I think that's why Yankee fans are kind of somewhere between anxious and indifferent. I think it's kind of the general vibe from the fan base right now. Like, people are either like freaking out, like, why the fuck aren't we making a move? Like, the Mets traded for Freddy Peralta. Why didn't we do that? And I think the Mets just probably had a deeper prospect pool to be able to make that happen than us. But I think that's kind of where the anxiety or indifference, and then there are other people where they're just like, all right, yeah, we're gonna win 89 games and get eliminated in the ALDS again. So, regardless of where you fall, I think a lot of it stems from the fact that all the teams in our division have made some pretty significant moves and pretty significant strides. And they had a hard enough time in the division last year, and it's only going to be harder now because everyone's getting better, it seems.
I guess the one thing that I could probably say to Yankee fans, and I get the frustration in the sense of you feel like you're only maintaining what you had last year. But
Exactly.
I think there's also, if there's one thing to hang your hat on, it's, well, we won 94 games last year and won a round, and we did it without Garrett Cole. And at worst,
Yeah.
you're probably getting him back by Memorial Day weekend, if not
Yeah.
maybe a little bit after that.
Yeah.
And the last time Garrett Cole was on the mound, you were in the World Series. So
yeah, no, there's definitely reasons to be optimistic, even if it doesn't feel that way. I think maybe it's kind of like ownership and the front office's just overall approach to things, where it doesn't feel like they're necessarily treating. You only have so many prime years of Judge left, right? So, you kind of are getting the vibe that maybe they're not treating this with the same type of urgency that they should be.
that's fair.
Maybe they think that, if a different Steinbrenner were still around, that things would be going a little differently. I don't know, but it does seem like, a lot of that anxiety stems from that. And then just like the fact that it does seem like they kind of operate in we just need to, be good enough to get to the playoffs, and then anything can happen from there. But I guess it's hard to really believe in that philosophy when, with the exception of 2024 now, for a while, we've been seeing that when they get to the playoffs, they run into a buzzsaw at some point. And I mean, even 2024, they got to the World Series, but they ran into a buzzsaw and were severely outmatched. So, I think that's the part that annoys the Yankee fan at this point, is that you still feel like if you get to the playoffs, that there's a good chance you're going to run into a buzzsaw and it'll be for naught.
That's a very fair position to have. And I think inactivity, sometimes you get the sense of, and Lord knows I'm guilty of it, because that's basically where I was up until this past week, where it's like, man, you guys don't see it. We know what the flaws are. We know how good we can be. It doesn't feel like when you feel like your front office isn't trying anything, you just get that sense of oh, so you're okay to just let this ride out. And that's, we're not in the building every day.
You're just down to get worse and waste another year, basically.
Oh, and that's a fair position to take.
It is, yeah. And I mean, until they make a move that says otherwise, that's probably a fair expectation to have. But you still got to play the games, and I think there are maybe more reasons to be optimistic than are really being talked about. But shall we close out the show with our two Hall of Fame inductees for 2026?
Let's get into it.
We have two Yankees legends, Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones.
Well, actually, Andrew Jones does have a role in one of the most famous games of the last 15 years. Andrew Jones homered in the famous Game 162 against the Rays. I believe I think he drove in the last Yankee run of that game, which was early on too. And then that helped for another 5-6 innings before the Rays started to come back.
And then I think, and I kind of think the Yankees may have thrown that game to keep the Red Sox out of it.
Listen, I'm not going to point fingers,
but
I'm just glad we got to see that. I thought,
definitely a footnote in a pretty incredible career, though. Andrew Jones, widely regarded as the best defensive center fielder of all time. Fell just short of 500 home runs, finished his career with 434 home runs, 1,289 RBIs, 823 career OPS, 62.7 career WAR, just short of 2,000 hits, and and he won 10 Gold Gloves. So yeah, definitely well reserved, definitely well deserved. He was obviously, obviously he was an instrumental piece of all those Braves teams that I'm sure you love to hate, and those Braves teams that we love to beat in the World Series.
Andrew Jones drew the walk that ended the 99 NLCS, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
This is how you know trauma is real, because when I saw the Hall of Fame graphic where it's like, congratulations, Andrew Jones has been inducted, it's him like holding the bat as he's walking to like right after ball 4, like, because that image is seared into my brain. And I'm like, they couldn't have picked any other picture.
Yeah, like how many times has he
a great catch? No.
Like how many times has he made an incredible catch or incredible diving catch, or climb the fence to rob a home run or something?
Yeah.
But you picked that.
And people wonder why we're paranoid.
Yeah. Well, I guess he didn't win a ring in his career.
No,
so I guess that was the closest moment they had to him getting a ring.
Well, remember, he came up in 96 and like just exploded in those first 2 games, and everyone was just like, oh man, they got another one.
Yeah.
And then they went up 2-0, and then that was it. That was as close as he got.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he played 2 years for you guys. I thought he had just the one.
Yeah, no, he was on the Yankees in 2011 and 2012, which, hand up, I'll be completely honest, I totally forgot about that until he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and it got mentioned on online that he finished his career with the Yankees. But he did indeed hit that home run.
Because I need to know if they passed the test here.
What's
like the
that?
Yankees didn't say anything like congratulations to Hall of Famer Andrew Jones, or did they rightfully just be like, yeah, he just came through here once?
Well, they did send I think they did congratulate both Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran, since they both played for the Yankees. I'll check their Twitter right now. I know they congratulated at least one of them, but I would imagine they
Beltran did play 2.5 years though. Like that one, I can kind of be like, and I'm trying to remember who Beltran did get traded. So like, you got something for him at least.
Yeah. No, they did put they did acknowledge both of them. They made separate posts for both of them, and then they released some statements about it too. Derek Jeter congratulated them as well. So they were both so the Yankees both acknowledged them, and then someone in the comments of one of them was being weird, like, oh, you can't claim Andrew Jones, like he ended his career with you guys, but like everyone knows he was a Brave. And it's like, dude, if you looked at this and saw it as anything other than like just like the Yankees like wishing him congratulations, like that's just kind of weird.
I always say this just because I remember when Revis went in a few years ago, the Bucks actually posted something. I'm like, why would you do that? Yeah. I'm not even saying this against Darrelle Revis. It just didn't work. Like, salute to him. He earned his spot in the Hall of Fame. Like, not mad about it. Wasn't even his fault that it didn't work here. But like, why even mention that? Like, Beltran did get traded in 2016. I believe. Let me go back and check. I think was an All-Star in 16, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he was. He was an All-Star in 2016. So, got you the return though of. I had the transaction page here. Nick Green, Eric Swanson, and Dylan Tate. So they gave it a try. It just didn't work.
Yeah. They tried to get something for him. 2015 was kind of they were getting ready, or 2016 was the year. 2016 was the rebuild. The 2016 was when they kind of were like, all right, we're gonna tear it down, basically. Well, not tear it down, but they started trading off some of their older players or players on expiring deals.
So my mistake on this, I didn't realize Dylan Tate had been taken with the 4th pick the year before. I thought he was an older pick, so I was like, Dylan Tate's not anything. But he was still pretty highly regarded at the time. And the Yankees ultimately turned Dylan Tate into Zach Britton. So really, if you want to do the trade tree thing,
you got
the
something.
Yankees
there.
ultimately turned Beltran into Zach Britton. So you got that.
Yeah, and he was solid for a minute, and then he was pretty bad, and then it was over. But so yeah, you left with something there.
Same way, officially now, the Max Scherzer trade has officially become Max Scherzer for Luis Robert. We'll see what happens from that point.
Yeah, no, I think that's you gotta think you're in the, at least for now. I'd say you gotta think you're like in the green on that one.
I would agree with that.
But yeah, and then Carlos Beltran, I mean, he had a 20-year career. Definitely had the he definitely had the peak, and he definitely had the consistency where I'd say that it was definitely deserved. He also finished just short of 500 home runs with 435. 279 career average, 837 career OPS, 312 career steals, and a 70.0 WAR. Nice round number. So, yeah, definitely well deserved. I think that, I mean, I guess he's gonna go in as a Met, right? Like that's the expectation.
I would think so.
I know that he obviously he had a great start to his career with the Royals, so I guess there's always that possibility.
I feel like if you ask most people, though, it's like when you see Carlos Beltran in your mind, what do you what uniform?
What do you picture? What uniform you picture him in? Yeah, and yeah, I think it's fair to say. I think it's fair to say most people would say the Mets.
And I do want to add, I know we I think we both agree Andrew Jones is the best defensive center fielder we've ever seen. But I would just like to say about Carlos Beltran, and I mean, he's certainly the best center fielder the Mets have had, at least in my lifetime. But I would add, I don't think I've ever seen anyone play center field and make it look as easy as he did. I think one of the complaints I heard a lot, and it was misguided, was, oh, well, it doesn't look like he's giving effort out there in center field. And it's like, it's because he's positioned so well, and he had such an IQ about playing center field that he was just always positioned in a way where he didn't have to make
every fly ball looked routine because it was.
And of course, he had great athleticism for most of his time here. So not only did he have the smarts to know how to play everything,
he could track shit down with ease.
So a ball that would take, maybe your average center fielder 6 strides to get to, he's doing it in 3. So, he doesn't have to make all the Jim Edmonds catches because he just could get there quicker. Now, he did make some great plays in center field, but it's not like he has like a 10-minute web gem reel just because that wasn't who he was. He was just such an intelligent and well-versed center fielder that he always knew where to be. And some people
it was more about
Cadillacing, but I just took that as knowing how to play the game.
Yeah, it was more about the finesse and being a tactician than it was like I'm gonna like put on a highlight reel.
And it did come up this week that Mets officials have discussed the possibility of retiring number 15 if he goes in, and presumably if he goes in with the Met cap, because there's only 2 others. It's Seaver and Piazza.
Yeah.
But they said logistically it would be a tough fit because already there's a Mets Hall of Fame ceremony this year, which Beltran's in, and they're also doing a 40th anniversary for the 86 team. So it's like, if you're going to do a number retirement, it probably needs to stand alone for Carlos Beltran. So,
yeah, it would have to be like its own. It'd probably have to be like its own day, like a David Wright type of day.
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I think you could pencil that in for. I mean, they might try and squeeze it in this year in case there is a lockout. But I'd say if there's baseball in 2027, I think you could probably pencil in Carlos Beltran number retirement for next year. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if I don't know if by now they probably, I feel like I would imagine by now teams pretty much know what they're gonna do as far as like their marketing and their promotions for the year. So I don't know if they want to, I don't know if they want to squeeze another day to get Beltran's number retired, but it seems like something that they might, seems like seems like it might be a post-lockout thing, or hopefully there is no lockout, but it seems like it might be something they do in the future.
Real quickly to look at the ballot from this year to last year, A-Rod's numbers stayed exactly the same, 37.1%. And this was his 5th year on the ballot. Andy Pettitte was 27.9 this year.
Yeah, he went up, right?
Stayed the same. Also had 27.9 last year too. Weirdly enough, Felix Hernandez was at 20.6%. Well, that can't be right. Yeah. Well, okay. I think I might be doing something wrong here because I'm looking at the like baseballhall.org, and it says that Felix got 46.1% of the vote. Okay. I think Baseball Reference messed something up here. I trust you on this.
Yeah. Chase Utley got 59.1% of the vote. He's probably going to get in.
I tend to agree.
Manny Ramirez lost his eligibility. He got 38.8% of the vote.
Because this was 10 years.
40. Dustin Pedroia got 20.7%, which is 20.7% too much.
Jimmy Rollins and Cole Hamels both picked up a decent amount of numbers, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I could support Cole Hamels getting in. Like I could get behind that. I understand. Yeah, Mark Burley.
Chase Utley as for as much beef as I have with Chase Utley, like I can look at his resume and go, no, that's arguably the best second baseman of the 21st century. Like you got to let it slide.
Yeah, it's
poor choice of words, but you know what I mean.
Torrey Hunter only got 8.7%, which is
wild.
Yeah.
I don't know how Omar Vizquel gets 18 and Torrey Hunter gets 8. Like whether you think Torrey Hunter should be in,
I think Torrey Hunter should be in. I'm a Torrey Hunter truther. Like, I mean,
but Omar Vizquel getting 10% more is nuts.
I mean, we talk about how Andrew Jones is probably the best, the best defensive center fielder we've ever seen, and how Carlos Beltran played the position so seamlessly that he didn't necessarily put on a highlight reel out there. But as far as like highlight reel of web gems,
for sure,
I think Torrey Hunter's portfolio is unmatched.
It was. I can't remember who else was with us, but I remember I was in Brooklyn during the 0-2 All-Star game, and we were watching it initially. And the inning when he makes that catch where he robs Bonds, it was the first inning because they were listening to everyone. And one of the people I was watching with was like, why is a guy from the Twins in this? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, Torrey Hunter's going to make a catch. He does it every single game. Every night on Baseball Tonight, they go to Web Gems and Torrey Hunter's on there. He's going to do something. And like 3 minutes later, Bonds looks like he's hit another one, and Torrey Hunter ran it down. And I was like, see, told you.
Yeah. Matt Kemp got 0.5% of the vote, which is 0.5% too much.
Oh, no. We don't have to put Matt Kemp in, but is that saying he deserves nothing?
I mean, I wouldn't give him a vote.
Let me tell you who got 0.5 too many. Rick Porcello.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that next. Rick Porcello, also Rick Porcello.
Whoever voted Alex Gordon in, go to hell. Let me just put that on the record.
Yeah, whoever voted Nick Markakis in, I just want to talk.
I don't have beef with Nick Markakis. Like, Nick Markakis didn't cause a traumatic event in my life the way Alex Gordon did.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Ryan Braun got more votes than I thought.
Who did?
Ryan Braun got 15 votes.
3.5.
Even for, I thought one, like the fact of, the PED stuff, it is what it is. But the way he handled all of the fallout from that, I thought that would be a thing where it's like, okay, that's really who you are. Like, even if I'm okay accepting steroid use, doing all of that. No, I'm not cool with that. Just on that, I'm
Yeah.
not putting you in.
Yeah, with the way the writers are, it's a little surprising that he got that much
Yeah, that there was
traction.
that much traction for him. That
But
one kind of surprised me.
yeah, no longer eligible. Yeah, Daniel Murphy. I mean, you'll always have
Daniel
that
Murphy
20.
didn't get one vote.
No, he did not get one vote. You'll always have that 2015 run though.
That's right. David Wright stays on the ballot, got up to 14.8. Hopefully it's one of those things where he just keeps moving. Ultimately, I don't think he'll get in, but it's one of those things where the longer he stays on, like the more people have to talk about him.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think like especially like if and when Chase Utley eventually gets in, like after that's like kind of out of the way. You know, I think like Bobby Abreu and David Wright and guys like that, it's like it's going to be a matter of time, I think. I mean, David Wright might be borderline, but I think Bobby Abreu is going to get in.
Abreu is a perfect example of just the fact that he's hung around the ballot. It's made people look at it closer and go, man, he was better than I remembered. Like, man, I knew he was an all-star and all that, but man, looking at the whole of his career, that's a hell of a player. And like more people were kind of coming around to the idea of like, yeah, maybe we should have him in there. Like that's what I hope David Wright gets is like more people just look and go, that was a great player.
Yeah, no, the longer you stick around, the more you have to be considered, the more people are, you know, looking at your fan graphs and your baseball reference pages and your highlight reel and studying your career, and you know, the more of a chance you eventually have to you know, crack through. But I think we've cracked about through this episode. So thank you as always for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube if you're not already. Subscribe to the Middle Initial Pod YouTube. I believe they will be ramping up episodes soon. Subscribe to their Patreon as well, and be sure to follow us Twitter and Instagram at 4to7pod. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
See you.